Ancient mysteries that were just solved. We're diving into some of the most fascinating ancient mysteries that scientists have only just cracked. From buried libraries and sunken cities to ancient tech and even a dancing epidemic, we'll uncover how modern science finally solved them. Decoding unopened ancient scrolls with X rays and AI. Let's start with a mystery that puzzled experts for nearly 2,000 years: the Herculaneum Scrolls. These were ancient books made of papyrus and filled with philosophy, poetry, and other writings. But after a disaster struck, they were turned into blackened lumps that nobody could read. For centuries, people wondered if the words inside would ever be seen again. Here is what happened. In 79 AD, a massive volcano called Mount Vesuvius erupted and buried the Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum, both located in Campania, southern Italy, under ash and rock. Archaeologists later discovered a luxurious villa in Herculaneum had been scorched by the eruption, but still held something extraordinary hidden inside: a library of hundreds of scrolls. Instead of burning away, the scrolls got roasted so badly that they turned into black, crispy lumps that looked like chunks of charcoal. Honestly, it was like the world's oldest book collection was cooked like an overdone pizza crust. And here's the problem: those lumps were still books. They had words inside, but the moment anyone tried to unroll one, it fell apart like burnt paper. For centuries, these scrolls just sat in museums, taunting historians. People knew there was treasure locked inside with whole texts from ancient writers, but they couldn't open them without destroying them. It was like having a safe full of gold and no combination to get in. Then, in the early 2000s, scientists decided to treat the scrolls like patients at a hospital. They put them into CT scanners, the same machines doctors use to see inside your body. These scanners take hundreds of X-rays and build a 3D picture of what's inside. The idea was simple: scan the scrolls, and maybe you could virtually peel them open on a computer screen instead of by hand. It looked like it worked at first because the scans showed the inside of the scrolls. For a moment, it seemed promising, like maybe the words would finally appear. But then came the huge problem. The ink was made of carbon, and the papyrus itself was also rich in carbon. Imagine using a black marker on a black t-shirt in a pitch-dark room. It all just blended together. At best, you might glimpse a faint squiggle here and there, but mostly it was nothing but shadows. That's when artificial intelligence joined the party. AI, which is basically computer software trained to recognize patterns, was fed thousands of examples of ancient Greek letters. Slowly, it learned how to spot the tiny texture changes between papyrus and ink. What looked like blank darkness to us started lighting up with letters for the computer. Suddenly, entire words began to appear. The first big wins came from the writings of Philodemus, an ancient philosopher who lived around 2,000 years ago and loved writing about happiness, virtue, and how to live a good life. His work had been lost for centuries, but thanks to AI, it was literally pulled out of the ashes. And the coolest part is no one ever touched the scrolls. They weren't unrolled or cracked open. Everything was done digitally, as if you could unwrap a croissant in a video game without actually touching the pastry. The scrolls stay safe, the words get revealed, and history comes back to life, one letter at a time. And if computers can read hidden books inside lumps of charcoal, wait until you hear how modern chemistry uncovered the real identity of someone archaeologists once called the Ivory Man. In 2008, archaeologists near Seville, Spain, uncovered a tomb they quickly nicknamed the Ivory Man. It sounded impressive, until later science revealed the so-called man wasn't a man at all. The name didn't age well, and the real story turned out to be far more surprising. The tomb was found to be over 5,000 years old, from the Copper Age, and it was filled with a wide mix of extraordinary objects. There was an African elephant tusk placed above the head of the body, a dagger carved from sparkling rock crystal, flint weapons, ostrich eggshell containers, amber beads, and hundreds of thousands of tiny shell beads that once decorated ceremonial clothing. This was no ordinary grave. It displayed wealth and power from every angle. For years, researchers believed the tomb belonged to a powerful young man, mostly because the burial was so extravagant and the bones looked close enough to what they thought a male leader's skeleton should be. With that in mind, they gave the figure a bold nickname, the Ivory Man. It was a confident guess at the time, but as it turned out, the title was about as accurate as calling a cat a small dog. In 2023, everything changed. A team of scientists used a brand new technique that looked at tooth enamel. Enamel is the hard coating on your teeth, and inside it are tiny proteins called peptides. These peptides are slightly different in males and females, and unlike bones, they survive for thousands of years. When the scientists tested the Ivory Man's tooth enamel, the results shocked everyone. The so-called man was actually a woman. She's now known as the Ivory Lady, and her discovery flips our ideas about ancient leadership upside down. This wasn't just any person. She was likely the most powerful figure in her community, maybe even the entire region. One archaeologist said she stood head and shoulders above everyone else, male or female. The rich grave goods and the fact that she was buried alone made her unique. And nearby, other tombs with women also showed high status, suggesting women in this society had way more influence than we once believed. What makes the story even more fascinating is that the Ivory Lady's bones showed signs she worked physically hard. She wasn't a distant queen lounging in luxury. She was active, involved, and earned her status by what she did, not just by inheritance. This discovery is a big reminder that old assumptions, like power always belonging to men, can be dead wrong. Without modern chemistry and new methods, we might still be calling her the Ivory Man today. Thanks to science, we now see her for who she really was, a leader, a trailblazer, and proof that women have always played central roles in history. Next up, we leave one surprising individual behind and turn to something on a massive scale, an entire civilization hidden for centuries under the jungle canopy. In 2023, scientists made a discovery that changed what we thought we knew about the Maya civilization. Hidden under the thick jungles of Central America, for centuries the jungle had kept this world out of sight. Trees and vines covered everything, making it nearly impossible to see what was underneath. Because of that, many experts believe the Maya only lived in small separate city-states with little connection. But the truth was much bigger, and it had been buried under green leaves and forests for thousands of years. That changed in 2023 when scientists used a technology called LiDAR, short for light detection and ranging. Think of it as a laser scanner strapped to an airplane. The laser beams shoot down through the jungle canopy, bounce off the ground, and return to the sensor. With enough of these laser points, scientists can build an incredibly detailed 3D map of the hidden world underneath, without cutting down a single tree. When they scanned parts of northern Guatemala and southern Mexico, the results stunned everyone. They didn't just find a few new ruins, they uncovered a network of at least 417 cities, spread across about 650 square miles, an area about the size of a medium-sized country. What makes this even more incredible is that these cities were linked together by massive stone causeways, like ancient highways stretching through the jungle. Some of these causeways were up to 130 feet wide, about the same as a modern 4-lane road, and raised as high as 16 feet above the ground, sometimes with stone walls along the sides. Altogether, they extended more than 110 miles, connecting city to city. They weren't just for walking either. These roads were built for moving goods, religious pilgrimages, and even armies. In other words, the Maya had traffic on before traffic jams. The LiDAR scans also revealed pyramids poking above the trees, ball courts where ritual games were played, and advanced water systems with dams and reservoirs. The picture that emerged was of a civilization that was not only huge, but highly organized and technologically advanced. The Maya managed their environment with precision, showing off engineering skills that rivaled those of later civilizations. Building and maintaining such vast infrastructure would have taken enormous teamwork and strong leadership. This wasn't just a collection of villages. This was an empire with vision, planning, and the ability to connect people across huge distances centuries before European explorers ever showed up. If lasers can peel back a jungle to reveal hidden cities, wait until you see what sonar has pulled up from under the sea. And hey, if discoveries like this blow your mind, hit that subscribe button, because we've got plenty more lost worlds to uncover together. Lost Egyptian city of Thonis Heracleion found. In the 1990s, archaeologists made one of the most cinematic discoveries ever, an entire Egyptian city found underwater. This was Thonis Heracleion, a once thriving port that had vanished beneath the sea for more than 1,000 years. For centuries, ancient writings mentioned a city called Thonis, by the Egyptians and Heraklion by the Greeks. Scholars assumed they were two separate places, until the discovery showed they were actually the same enormous port. This city was once alive with temples, markets, and harbors where ships from across the Mediterranean came to trade. Around the 6th century BCE, a disaster struck. A series of earthquakes, floods, and rising sea levels caused the land beneath the city to weaken and sink. The city slowly sank beneath the waters of the Mediterranean Sea, and over time, layers of sand and mud buried it completely, and for more than 1,000 years, Thonis Heraklion vanished from the map. The only clues that it ever existed came from old writings by Greek and Egyptian historians, but nobody knew exactly where the city had been, or if the stories were even true. That mystery lasted until the 1990s, when an underwater archaeologist named Frank Gaudio and his team began searching the Bay of Abukir off the Egyptian coast. They use sonar, which sends sound waves into the water to map what's beneath, and magnetometers, which detect faint signals from metal objects hidden in the seabed, and slowly the outline of a forgotten city begins to appear. Divers uncovered enormous temples dedicated to known gods like Amun and Isis, statues taller than people, golden coins, jewelry, and even entire ships preserved underwater. And finally, one massive stone monument called Istili carried inscriptions that proved once and for all that Thonis and Heraklion were the same city that actually existed. More than 70 ancient boats have also been found at the site, which is the largest collection of ancient ships ever discovered. The discoveries showed Thonis Heraklion was more than just a trading hub. It was also a military harbor, a religious center famous for rituals like the mysteries of Osiris, and a meeting point of Egyptian and Greek cultures. And the wild part is the fact that only a small part of the city has been uncovered so far. Much of Thonis Heraklion is still buried under the sea, waiting for future divers and archaeologists to bring its secrets back into the light.